part of designing any training is thinking through a training and development plan. A training and development plan asks the questions about what, when, and for whom the training is for. Let's take a look at an example. In front of you, you have a training and development plan that looks at the actual organizational objective, what the organization hopes to achieve. And in this case, it's quite broad. It's just saying the relevant qualifications for each staff member. But let's dive into that a bit more. And what we see here is the training and development required. And notice that it's actually qualifications, right? NVQ level 2. The priority level, for whom, when, so they have a time frame attached to this, the benefit of this, and notice that they link this benefit to the organizational objectives, the benefit to the individual and the benefit to the setting, the cost. Remember, all training has a cost, and so one has to think about those costs when developing a training. Who is responsible for managing it? Often this will be the facilitator as well as a manager of some kind or HR person, and then the review date. So what this would entail is when the training would either be reviewed or evaluated, or the skills of the participant might be tested in some way, and that can be embedded in the actual training and development plan. Now, a training and development plan can be set up for your organization, which is the case here, but it can also be set up for an individual in your organization. So we could have your name in each one of these blocks and look at your trainings and your skill levels in terms of priority and time, and map those out and think about what are the short, medium, and long-term training needs of your staff or for yourself, and map those to where the organization is going when you're thinking strategically about the next short, medium, and long term for the organization. So for example, if you know that you are going to open another chapter of your organization, for example, in the next 2 to 3 years, it might be helpful then to begin to train certain people in your organization over time to then fulfill roles in those new chapters. So this is a really important thing, not only in designing a training, but also in looking and investigating an organization's documents. In other words, if you are a facilitator, you may want to have a look at an organization's existing training and development plans. And what you have in front of you is a good example of the kinds of things you need to look at. Just before I close up this lecture, I just want to talk a little bit about cost. Cost is a really, really important piece of training. And it comes down to the question about how much time is valued. Now, often facilitators will think about how much their time is worth. But another thing to consider is how much time the participants of your training's time is worth. So if the facilitator's time is worth £200 an hour, $200 an hour, but they are training people who on average are getting paid $200 each an hour, and they're training 5 people for an hour, that means that the organization is paying 5 times 200, which is 1,000, plus 200 for yourself, which is $1,200 for an hour of training time. So you need to consider that and think about whether the organization would feel that that is a good investment for their time and their money. So these are some things to consider as we lay out a training and development plan and think about how these link to the organizational examples and objectives.